Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today's video, we're going to take a look at how to start building a Stormcast Eternals army using the Extremis starter set for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Now, I will point out that you could easily use the smaller version of this starter set, the second starter set, the mid-range one, because that contains the same models as this box set. You just want to get terrain with that one like you will this. You get the box which sort of turns into a little building. And you can definitely also use Dominion as a basis for this, as well as you get all these models plus more in Dominion. And also the smallest version of the starter set, you can use a lot of the rules in here, because while you don't get some of the units in here, you do get some, and this video should be helpful to sort of point you where to go with that particular box set as well. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get talking about the character in the box set and the rest of the units. So first of all, we've got our Lord Imperator with Gryph-hound. Now, like most Stormcast Eternal heroes, he's got a 3-up save, which is really nice. Means he can get +1 save, get to that all-important 2-up, which makes him really hard to remove. He's also got 7 wounds as well, which is nice because his little Gryph-hound buddy hangs out with him. And he's got a decent shooting attack with his Stormcaller baton for d6 shots at 3s and 3s, Ren 1 damage 1. I mean, it's not great, but, you know, it'll do something. He's alright in combat as well. The Blessed Warhammer, 3s and 3s with 4 attacks, Ren 1 damage 2, and his Gryph-hound puts in a couple of attacks as well. But really, the big thing about this is, first of all, he's got the Distinguished Leader rule, which allows him to use a command ability without a command point being spent once per turn, which is really useful. Stormcast Eternals love using command abilities, so this is really good to have. The main reason he is good, though, is his Guided by Lightning rule, where once per turn, if you're playing in Signs of the Storm, which is the Stormcast Eternals way to play, where you bring units down from the heavens, you have that sort of second striking sort of rule. He gets to bring 1 unit per turn down 7-inch away rather than 9-inch. This can be really good with units with rerolls, really good if you've got a Triumph for that reroll as well, or just, you know, champions in your units, which most Stormcast Eternal units do anyway. Next up, though, we've got our Praetors. Now, Praetors are an interesting unit for Stormcast Eternals, as they're actually a bodyguard unit, and they work really well with our Lord Imperator. When you put your Praetors down on the field, they get to pick one Stormcast Eternals hero that's on the field already, and they effectively form a bodyguard, giving him a ward save where he passes off wounds onto them instead. And Praetors, they're not too bad in combat either. With 3 attacks each, 3s and 3s, Ren 1 damage 2, they can do a little bit of damage in combat as well. But their main reason is to be sort of a bodyguard for our Lord Imperator, which is solid. Lastly, we've got Vindictors. These are a standard, always battle line unit for the Stormcast Eternals. They do some mortal wounds on 6 to hit with their spears. They've got a nice 2-inch range and a base 3-up save, meaning you can get a battle line unit here on a 2-up save, which is just amazing. It really does mean that your Praetors will just survive so much in the game. And pretty much everything in this entire box set has a 3-up save base, so you've got 2-up save potential on everything in this box set. Really hard to shift. They're all Thunderstrikes, so they're dealing mortal wounds when they die back on 5s. Really solid core of models here to start off your Stormcast Eternals army with. Now, once we've looked at this particular set of models, we're going to go have a check first at the endless spells that are available to the army as a whole, and then we'll go look at how to explore into some other options to sort of boost up your force, and then we'll look at a little sample army list in the end of the video. So let's get cracking on, and we'll go check out those endless spells. And so, Stormcast Eternals, as I said, get their own set of endless spells. Much like many armies in the game, they get access to their own unique lot of endless spells, so Stormcast Eternals do get that. Stormcast Eternals, however, do not get access to a terrain feature like some armies do, which is sort of good. That makes them a great starter army because it's one less piece you're going to have to buy. Endless spells are by no means a necessity to play the game, they're just a nice option you have as Stormcast Eternals, and any of your wizards you have can choose to use these. So, first of all, we've got the Dias Arcanum. This is the little floaty disc you can see at the bottom left of the picture. This endless spell, when it's summoned, it counts as a single model along with the wizard that summoned it, and you place your wizard atop it. You can sort of see that it's got a 40mm little base there. Now, you can only put a wizard that has 8 wounds or less on top of this endless spell. Effectively, you can't put your monsters or your bigger heroes on it, and if the caster wishes to ever unbind this endless spell, it's automatically done so. The bonus for this is, whilst the wizard is atop the Dias Arcanum, they can choose to attempt to unbind 1 extra enemy spell in your enemy's hero phase, and they're also -1 to hit, so some solid buffs there. Next up, we've got the Celestian Vortex. This is a predatory and a spell, and the only one that's predatory for the Stormcaster Turtles, besides obviously the generic ones. After this end spell is moved, you pick one unit that has any models passed across by it, and you roll 12 dice. For each 6, that unit suffers a mortal wound. In addition, this has a cool little debuff where you subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made with missile weapons by units that are within 6 inches of the end of the spell. So you can debuff and do damage to your opponent's shooting units with this. Lastly, we have the Everblaze Comet. This is a long-range endless spell that doesn't get to move after it's put down, but it does do some decent damage. First of all, you subtract 1 from casting rolls for enemy wizards within 10 inches of the end of the spell, so if your opponent's playing with a little backfield sort of wizard conclave, you can throw this in the middle of them to make them have to move, potentially get them out of position. And in addition, after this endless spell is set up, you roll a dice for each unit within 10 inches of it, and depending on the roll, they'll take some mortal wounds. But as I said, let's look at how we can explore different ranges in the Stormcast Eternals, because they have a massive pool of models to pull from. So the first thing I want to talk about is Wizards and Priests. Now I wanted to talk about this first because if you picked up the cheapest starter set, you'll have the Knight Arcanum as a model in that starter set, and also you'll get this in Dominion. Priests are another fantastic option, with the Lord Relictor and the Knight Relictor being some great options. The Lord Relictor in particular being an amazing priest with +1 to his prayer rolls. But Wizard and Priest for Stormcast Eternals have some really useful spells and prayers available to them. Spells like Starfall, where you can stop your opponent piling in, or Thundershock to make your opponent -1 to wound, or prayers like the Divine Light, where you can get rerolls to hit against your opponent's units, are absolutely amazing. The damage dealing potential of a couple of these is not too great, and they're not generally the most offensive spellcasters in the game, but they do have some really strong buffs and debuffs available to them, and definitely worth checking out applying some of these into your army. We then got the Paladin units, which are a great set of models. First of all, they're personally my favourite models in the entire Stormcast Eternals range, but we've got the brand new models here, the Annihilators, which if you picked up Dominion, you'll get some with their shields. They've got a 2-up save, they do damage when they come down from Thunderstrike, and they also do mortal wounds on the impact as well when they charge, so some strong rules there. Now, next up, we've got the older Paladin models as well, where you've got things like Protectors, who have a 2-up base save, thanks to a special rule they've got. And also, with the Protectors, they've also got a 3-inch range, which can be really useful for making sure they can always get into fight with their full power. Decimators are another great Paladin unit. They get extra attacks if they're outnumbered, can get up to 7 attacks per model. When you consider this can be, particularly in some sub-factions, 2s and 2s with 7 attacks, and Ren 2, damage 1, that's a lot of damage going through into your opponent. The last Paladin unit we've got is Retributors. They do mortal wounds, that's sort of their thing compared to the other Paladins. Only 6 to hit, does 2 mortal wounds. And while they're not technically Paladins, Evocators are another option. While they don't have the 3-up save like the rest of our Paladins, at least they've got a 4-up save. They do have some magic, and they do a decent amount of mortal wounds. Next up, we've got the Vanguard Chamber. This is a really interesting set of models, but the reason I mention these is I think these give Stormcast Eternals something that maybe the army is lacking in other ways, and that's their ability to teleport and just sort of pop up around the table. Your Vanguard Hunters have sort of the, which are your foot troops, I've got pictured here, have the weakest version of this, where they have to teleport to somewhere near a board edge. But things like Vanguard Paladors and even your Lord Aquila or Lord Arcanum on Griffcharger have the ability to teleport anywhere on the battlefield 9 inch away from enemy units. This can make it so your opponent can't put units or can't leave objectives open for you, because you can just easily take it with your Vanguard units available on the table. The last thing I want to talk about with the Stormcast Eternals is, of course, the Dragonith. These are your awesome new dragon models. You've obviously got the big models like Krondys and Karazai, but you've also got the Knight version hero with on Dragon here, or Draconith, and then you've got your cavalry as well, your unit of Dragon Riders, which is really awesome. I mean, Stormcast Eternals, dragons, this is just cool. Knights riding dragons across the table, and they do a tremendous amount of damage. Some really fantastic models. And it should be mentioned as well that you can definitely build an all-dragon Stormcast Eternals army. And lastly, what we're going to do is I've put together a little sample army list here for you, so we can look at how to sort of play some Stormcast Eternals on the table. So first of all, we're going to play in the Stormcast Eternals Allegiance, and we're going to go and choose to be the Heavens version. So this is the one where we're going to get the Deep Strike from the Heavens above, and we get to place units on the table. This works really well with the models we've got in our base starter set. Now we're going to be the Storm Host Hammers of Sigmar, and the cool buff that this gives us is if we're near objectives, we get a 6-up ward for all our units. This can make our 2-up save units even more survivable. Hold the Line is the battle tactic we've gone for, and this is where we have to have a starting battle line unit on the table at the end of the game, so really cool and easy. We've got some really decently survivable units in our Vindictors, and then we're also going to take the Triumph Bloodthirsty, which is a re-rollable charge, really useful for coming in from reserve. Lord Imperator, he's going to be our leader, and he's the only one we've got in this small little 750 point starter force. But he's going to be our general, obviously, and our command trait is going to be Envoy from the Heavens. This is really cool. So if our opponent targets units and actually manages to kill one of our Stormcast Eternals, they're going to get +1 save. And this can be useful even after you've used your initial sort of all-out defense on a unit, because it can mean you can be all-out defense, 2-up save, you've actually lost someone, and now your 2-up save is going to ignore Rend 1 after that as well. Or if you don't have the command points, you might lose someone on a 3-up save, and then you've got a 2-up save for any units that target you after the first unit. A strong little command ability there. Artifact-wise, we've gone for the Drake Scale Armor, because he's going to have a ward save through a couple of various different reasons here. First, Praetors or the Stormcast Eternals Hammers of Sigmar sub-faction rule. And so Drake Scale Armor is really interesting. What this does is he gets to reroll saves against any weapon that is damaged 2 or more. This is really cool, because obviously he can go to a 2-up save, so he's going to be ignoring a lot of damage 1, and a lot of damage 1 generally isn't more than Rend 1. And he's also just going to get to reroll those saves then against all those more powerful weapons that are likely to do much more damage to him. For battle line, 2 units of 5 Vindictors is a solid core for our army. These are going to be our main sort of battle line unit that's going to hold the objectives on the table for us. 3 Praetors, they're going to stick out near our Lord Imperator, keeping him alive. And then we've gone for 5 Vanguard Hunters. Like I said, their teleporting ability is just great. It allows them to jump around the table, throw units where your opponent's not expecting them to be, and just generally be a little bit of a pain. This whole army is going to be wrapped up in a core battalion called the Battle Regiment. This means the whole army drops as 1. It will be a 1-drop army, meaning we're going to get a good chance of deciding who has the first turn. And additionally, Stormcast Eternals get an enhancement that's a unique one to them called Command Abilities, and we're going to take the one called for Aid. What this allows us to do is 1 5-man unit that's a Redeemer unit can be brought back after it dies within 12 inches of one of our heroes. Redeemer units for this army are both our Vindictor units. Now, this won't help us complete our battle tactic, but it does mean we've got sort of that second sort of chance with one of our Vindictor units. They can sort of drop around. It's a really interesting and fun rule to use. The army comes in at 725 points, no reinforcements, no allies, and 46 wounds, and all in a nice little 1-drop battalion. If you've just picked up the starter set and starting Stormcast Eternals with the new edition of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, I'd love to know how you're going with them, what you're playing, what you're doing with them. Let us know in the comments below. Well, that's the video, everyone. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our fine little community here at Sinful Gaming, we have a Discord server which you will find a link to in the description of the video. And if you'd like to help support the channel more in a different way, you can do so either by following a link in the video to our Teespring store and purchasing some merch, or by helping support the channel via Patreon or YouTube members. As a special thanks to everyone who has supported the channel via Patreon and YouTube members, we'd like to give a shout out to all of them. So thank you to our patrons Christian Weir, James Soren, Chaos Spawn, AJC, Kenny Lyle, Outer and Shop First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ape, Cure Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, MJ, and Dynet226. A special shout out as well to all our YouTube members: Greenrich Gaming, Kenton Young, Steve T, The Real, Zeop, Chris Wallace, Turai12, Vinny, Lock Lorick, Matt Mollim, Becca, Kinski Groupie, The Johnny84, and El Mapache. And a special thanks as well, first of all, to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork for the channel. It's absolutely amazing. People love it. I love it. She's fantastic. You can go find her on Instagram. And also a special thanks to Xmorphic, who does a great job behind the scenes for our Discord server, running everything amazingly over there for me. That's it for today, folks, though. Thank you all for watching. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.